Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity, yum. It's like a treat.
Oh, once again, my favorite jingle of the entire week, Taco Tuesday. Having a good time, hanging out. Folks, I apologize about yesterday. Unfortunately, yesterday just, this is what happens when you own your own business. Sometimes, man, you got to handle business. And obviously handling business meant we had to take care of some clients. And so, but anyway, we're here today. So we took an extra long weekend, shall we say. But I'm here today. We're here today. I'm here today. You're here today. And we are going to have a good time. So check it out. Would love for you to comment. Would love to hear what you have to say. If you're watching the show live, if you're watching us at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, on Facebook, on YouTube, if you're watching us on Twitter, if you're watching us on Rumble, then guess what? Hey, I'm following your comments. I'm going to be looking for you, see what you got to say. If you got something good to say, we'll share it on the program. So let's have a conversation. Let's have a good time. All right? Okay. Let's go ahead and, obviously, you know how we do it. Before we get into the business of the business, we got to start off by paying the bills. And we do that by, first and foremost, giving a quick shout out to our sponsors. That starts with Hitman Industries. If you're looking to do a brand new build, or maybe you're looking to rebarrel your current rifle, check out Hitman Industries. If you've recently purchased an AR, if you purchased an AR in the last couple of years, chances are you already have one of their barrels. And obviously you must love it. So check it out. They have pistol caliber, they have rifle caliber, they have Glock barrels. Check them out at hitmanindustries.net. And if you are a first responder and you've never purchased from them before, well, this first purchase, you're going to get a discount. So check them out today. Once again, hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly, working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. In fact, Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. Go online and check them out today at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. Then we've got Hog Holsters. Whatever setup you have, whatever firearm you have, whatever optic you have, whatever light you may have on your firearm, trust me, they will have a setup that will work out for you. Inside the waistband, outside the waistband, tactical, concealed carry, no matter what you're looking for, trust me, they will have it. Just go to hogholsters.com. And when you go there and you find the holster that you're going to want to buy, make sure you use the discount code. What is that discount code, you ask? It's right there. The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word. Use the discount code The Rundown and get a discount today. And then we've also got uscombatgear.com, the place to go to get all things tactical. Outdoor gear, cold weather, warm weather, whether you're looking for hats, shoes, backpacks, whether you're looking for accessories for the firearm, trust me, they have all things tactical except for the gun. So check them out today, uscombatgear.com. All right. Let us get into today's news story. Oftentimes, and what I find very often, what we talk about oftentimes here, it's news, and we're reporting it as news. But to us, to people who've been paying attention, to people who don't just listen to the legacy media or the corporate media, but actually listen to and look at and look for truth, look at and review and read all sides of the information, we know that half the stuff, unfortunately, that I'm talking with you about today, well, you already knew it. But today, well, not so much that we believed that there was a climate crisis, because I think all of us knew that it was fake. But one thing that was very certain was most of the establishment would have you believe that the scientific community is 100% sold out on the idea that there is a climate crisis. Well, guess what, folks? That is, let's just say that is anything but the truth. And there was a letter that was recently signed by 1,600 scientists, a coalition of 1,600 actual scientists, who basically said, yeah, there is no climate crisis. This right here being reported by Katie Grimes over at she's the editor over at the California Globe. It says here, there is no climate crisis, says a coalition of 1,600 actual scientists in a recent letter to the California Air Resources Board. In fact, the scientists find that California is in no danger. They didn't say no longer. For some reason I added that word. I don't know why. But anyway, there is no danger of unusual drought. The annual precipitation in California has fluctuated greatly over the past 150 years, with only a slight decrease. California also has record low levels of air pollution that are below the threshold of human health effects. James Eastrom, PhD, MPH, has told us repeatedly for years. He's also one of the 1,600 scientists who signed on to the letter to CARB. The scientists also insist that carbon dioxide is beneficial to the Earth. The CO2 Coalition's letter is particularly timely, with Governor Gavin Newsom taking his climate change roadshow to the Vatican later this week, where he was invited to speak by Pope Francis at a summit of mayors and governors. The summit, which will be held May 15th to May 17th, will cover the, quote, impact of rising temperatures in local communities and climate resilience. Now, we've talked about this before. We know that there is no climate crisis. Now, that does not mean that there is not climate change. How do we know there's climate change? Because climates change, right? The questions that they are asking is very, very different. Has the climate changed? Yes. Has it changed significantly? Some people agree that it has. Some people agree that it hasn't changed significantly. There's clearly information here that's offered by these 1,600 scientists that no, it has not changed significantly. But the other issue that I think is important to point out here is that we don't know to what degree humans have contributed to this quote unquote to climate change, right? We have absolutely no idea. And not only do we not have any idea, but here's what we know. We know that as California in particular, has significantly reduced our carbon emissions, guess what? Supposedly the climate crisis is only getting worse, or the amount of CO2 particulates in the air have gone down 0.0002%. 1%, whatever. I don't know the exact number. I'm trying to give you an example of how insignificant the billions of dollars that we have taken out of the economy in our nation, in the nation it's been trillions. In California it's been billions. But how insignificant an impact it has actually had on the climate or on climate change. Almost no effect. And yet, and still, we're about to be looking, and there was a letter that came out recently. California, which has some of the, if not the highest gas taxes in the country, yeah, we're about to see another 50-cent increase in the next year of gas prices because of the gas tax, and about 50-cent increase each year after that. Despite our gas prices being on average $2 more than every place else in the country. And oh yeah, by the way, we tend to have more pollution in California than most other states. So we've reduced our carbon emission, but we have more pollution. The climate's the air is getting worse, even though we're making all these changes. Even though you've told us we can't use our gas-powered mowers. Even though you've told us that we can't use our wood stoves. Even though you told us we can't barbecue. So you tell us we can't do all of these things. You literally chase jobs out of the state of California, out of the United States. Tesla used to be based in California. Do you know why they left California? Because Tesla couldn't afford to comply with the environmental regulations it would have taken for them to be able to manufacture Tesla cars in the state of California. It's that simple. And yet we're going to make it more strict. And yet we're going to charge them more. And yet we're going to make it even more impossible for people to be able to comply with this madness. But that's the world in which we are living these days, folks. That is the world. That is what California is. And like I said, the scariest thing about all of this is that Gavin Mussolini got reelected by a landslide. He got reelected by a landslide. And chances are he is going to be replaced by another job-hating, employer-hating, America-hating Democrat as governor. That's what's the trip, is he's likely to be replaced because he's going to be termed out next year, or not next, the year after next. He's going to be termed out. Chances are he's going to be replaced by someone who is just as bad, just as dense as he is. Once again, I'm often, I'm going to stop saying I'm hardly ever speechless. No, I'm speechless because I just don't understand how we don't get it here in the state of California. It's like we have elected the same sort of people over and over and over and over again. We have given the Democrats in California control over both houses of the legislature almost the entire time, almost all of my life, right? There was 1 year where Republicans controlled one house of the legislature. And then since we've entered the beginning of since Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I count Arnold Schwarzenegger as a Democrat because he literally was nothing more than a Democrat, or governed like a Democrat. But we haven't had a Republican governor since Pete Wilson in the 90s. And yet, for some reason, even though they've controlled everything, somehow they find a way to blame Republicans for all that is going on in the world, for all that's going on in California. I don't get it. I think it's insanity. I think, once again, what's that definition of insanity? You keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That is the definition of a California Democrat. Anyway, so now we know. So I'm really interested to see what the pushback on this is, because there's a saying out there, they've been saying out there that 97% of all climate scientists believe or support the concept of human-caused climate change or global warming. I know I seem like I go back and forth between climate change and global warming. It's hard because when I was a kid, it was global cooling, right? We were going to be entering the ice age by the time, I was 50. By 2020, we were supposed to be in an ice age. We're not in an ice age. Then it turned to global warming, and we're supposed to be living in a sauna right now. It's supposed to be, 150 degrees right now. It's not 150 degrees. So then you have years of record cold, followed by years of record hot, because guess what? Records get broken. And now all of a sudden they're like, well, look, we can't figure out whether it's going up or going down, so we're going to call it climate change. So when the weather goes up, when the temperature goes up, well, it's because of climate change. When the temperature goes down, it's climate change. Despite the fact that temperatures go up and down. I know. Hard to figure out. But these are the people who are making policy in the state of California. There's an election going on right now, folks. We have a chance to at least replace half the members of our state Senate, all of the members of our state assembly, and half or all of our congressmen. So I don't know. I'm not saying, just saying. The opportunity to make some changes. Let's move on to our next story. More than half of immigrants are unemployed. Now, this is an important thing to understand because we're told all the time about the economic benefits and the economic boost, or the boost to the economy, that allowing people to come into the country legally and illegally is here in the United States. These are tax-paying, these people, they pay tax, they come here, they pay taxes. Well, first of all, understand that in the state of California, the top 1% of taxpayers pay 50% of the taxes, right? The bottom half, and by the way, the next, I think that like then the next quarter pay like 75% of what's left. I mean, our tax system is very, very much dependent on the wealthy and the investor class here in California. So no, they're not adding to the economy. They really aren't. But now that we find out that more than half of them are actually unemployed. That's right. Now this comes out of a report. Let's pull this puppy up here. In a report, it says here, report, more than half of immigrants in the U.S. are unemployed. Now that's legal, and those who've entered the country illegally. It says the Center for Immigration Studies released a report on Monday that showed that just 46% of migrants who had arrived in the U.S. in 2022 or later were employed as of the beginning of 2024. Immigration clearly adds workers to the country, but it just as clearly adds non-workers who need to be supported by the labor of others. Stephen Camarota and Karen Ziegler, researchers with CIS, wrote, this was the case in the past, but it's true today, and it will surely be the case for immigrants who arrive in the future. Those who simply see immigration as a source of labor need to understand that it is also a source of school children, retirees, and many other non-workers. The data from CIS report undermines arguments that supporters of illegal immigration have used to try and point out that migrant workers help the economy by working hard. If you're not working, I think it's pretty safe to say that you are not working hard. And once again, and this is a number of both migrants and both immigrants, legal immigrants, and illegal border crossers. We have seen the population of those of foreign-born folks increase dramatically under Joe Biden, and I'm not against that. I'm not against the idea of people coming in. What I am against the idea of is not knowing who they are. What I'm against is us not making immigration choices that are best for the people who are already here. There is a reason why. We want to know. We want to know who's coming in, because right now, not only are we facing a massive potential of a terrorist attack here in the United States, but we have, at a time in which the economy is becoming much more based on trained, skilled workers, we are seeing more unskilled, untrained workers coming into the United States. We're seeing people who are coming in, and those who are trained, they are taking jobs they're not taking jobs working in the fields or picking fruit or something like that, as Nancy Pelosi would have you believe. No, they're doing construction jobs. They're doing transportation jobs. They're doing hospitality jobs. They're doing the sorts of jobs that Americans would do. And yet and still, you see them just coming on in. You see us just bringing them in. And then when they don't have jobs, and by the way, I can tell you right now, as a school board member, I can tell you that it does have an impact on your school budget when you're bringing in students who were not receiving a quality education where they were. Then they come here, they may or may not, and 9 times out of 10, they actually don't speak English at all. Once again, coming from all over the world. They don't speak English very well, and now all of a sudden you've got to spend extra resources to help them to not just learn, but then help them to learn English, as well as provide all of the other services that public schools are now required to provide. We've also got the case in California where our governor has said we're going to also provide free health care to those who've come to the country illegally. Now, mind you, we are facing, well, now he says it's a 45 billion deficit. That's according to the governor's numbers. If you use the legislative analyst's office numbers, add about 20 to 30 billion to that. And that's the sort of budget deficit that we're looking at in the state of California. And once again, these people who we are claimed supposed to be supporting or building on the economy, well, you see that they're not. Or you see that they are as much an expense on the economy as they are, and as those are who are assets to the economy. But once again, we're going to do what we're going to do because we are California, and we're probably not going to change our policies, or the people are not going to vote to change those policies, sadly, until we've gone bankrupt, until it's too late. I wish that were not the case. But right now, the California electorate has yet to show a willingness to actually elect common sense politicians. And so as a result, when I say they, I mean we, are going to have to pay the price. Moving on to our next story, UNC, that's University of North Carolina, diverts their DEI funds to campus police. What? So they're ending DEI and they are refunding the police. Wow. I like that. Let's check it out. It says here, the Board of Trustees at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, voted unanimously on Monday in favor of disbanding its diversity, equity, and inclusion program and diverting the millions of dollars in funding toward campus security, according to a report. The UNC trustees' decision to redirect $2.3 million in DEI funding came amid tumultuous anti-Israel protests on campus and growing backlash against DEI nationwide, the Raleigh News Observer reported. David Boliak, chairman of the UNC board, told the outlet that he believes, quote, there's administrative bloat in the university, adding that any cuts in administration and diverting the dollars to rubber meets the road efforts like public safety and teaching is important. Well, okay, you're right. It's important to make those changes, but you never should have took it away from, the meat and potatoes. Or how about this? Maybe you didn't take it away from the meat and potatoes, but as you increase the cost of the education, by the way, the cost of colleges have gone through the roof in the last few decades. As you increase the cost, instead of putting it into actual teaching, instead of putting it into making sure the campus is secure, they spent it on administration. And what has been the biggest area of growth in administration? You guessed it, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. And I got to say this, and I just want to be real clear. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are good things, right? Having diverse perspectives, right, on a college campus to be able to discuss and debate the issues of the day impacting society at all levels and across all cultures is important, right? That's a good thing to have. Equity, as we are supposedly taught in education, is giving students what they need, right? Now, what they do now is they don't do that. They actually divide it up based on race. And they say, well, you're a certain skin color, so what you need is this, right? They actually promote racism they should use racism in order to fix racism. And inclusion. They'll include anybody unless you are a straight white male. And if you happen to be conservative, you are definitely not included. If you are a Christian straight white male, then you are deliberately excluded. If you don't buy into the neo-Marxism, and by the way, let's just be real. What they are teaching in these DEI courses it has nothing to do with diversity, has nothing to do with equity, has nothing to do with inclusion. It is cultural Marxism. It is a way in which to say the system is broken, therefore we must tear it down. And it doesn't matter what angle you're coming from, whether it's the radical climate change, whether it's the LGBTQ AI plus, whether it is the transgender, whether it is modern feminism, excuse me, All of them are predicated on certain things. There are the oppressed and there's the oppressor. And if you are part of the oppressed class, you're the good guys. Or let me clarify. If you are the less fortunate or the less powerful, you are the oppressed. And if you are the more powerful, you are the oppressor. If you are the oppressor, if you are the more powerful, you are evil. And the other group, you're you're good no matter what, no matter how right or wrong you may be on any particular issue. And the other thing is that you must not steer away from the orthodoxy, right? It's a religion. DEI is a religion. Critical race theory is a religion. And when I say it's a religion, it is this idea that there are certain precepts and principles that are not based in fact, but if you dare doubt them, if you dare question them, you are to be disciplined. You are to be shut down and shut up. You are to be silenced so that the orthodoxy or the spreading of the orthodoxy can continue. Well, it's nice to see, because this isn't the first university where this has happened, but it's nice to see that it is happening, and I'm looking forward to seeing it happen at more colleges and universities. It's kind of frustrating that it's not happening at more. We definitely would like to see it happen at more universities, especially, and by the way, that's where the whole, and you probably already know this, the whole argument, the reason why you see the LGBT, the Queers for Palestine, the reason why you see the BLM activists out there, and by the way, the same people funding all of it, the George Soroses of the world, the same people, once again, are all funding this, they're all funding all of it because it all meets the same end, and that is to tear down the system, to tear down the education system, to tear down the family, to tear down the church, to tear down law enforcement system, so that out of the ashes can rise this new thing that will be better? Yeah, except it's never worked. Didn't work for Mao. Didn't work for Castro. Didn't work for Stalin. Didn't work for Lenin. Didn't work for Hugo Chavez. Isn't working for Xi Jinping. Anyway. But hey, they got a plan. And they're the smartest. They're the smartest that's ever been. So I'm sure they'll figure the plan out. Oh, and then next, the review of background checks. Background check rule is to be fast-tracked. Now, for those of you who do not know, the Biden administration is pushing for background checks on private firearm sales. And I'll tell you the problem that creates, for example, not just private firearm sales, but private firearm transfers. So, for example, if I want to, like, give an example, and they want to model it after what's going on in California. If I want to loan a firearm to somebody who's not an immediate family member, let's say my neighbor is like, look, my house, there are people breaking into houses. I want to make sure I'm protected until I can get a gun, right? Because it's going to take me 11 days to get a gun in California. Well, I can't loan him a firearm unless he goes through a background check. And guess how long he has to wait for? You guessed it, 11 days. Can't take possession of the gun. For 11 days, almost a week and a half, they are without the ability to be able to protect themselves. And that's just to loan someone a firearm. Well, the rule is actually being checked, and then there's a fundamental reason why the rule is actually being checked, and that has to do with, once again, going back to what we've talked about before, and that is separation of powers. But let's read a little bit of the article here. This is being reported over at Truth About Guns. It says here, a federal judge has expedited the legal proceedings against a new rule by the ATF that mandates universal background checks on private firearm. It says sales, but they actually mean transactions. The U.S. District Court Judge Matthew J. I'm not going to try and pronounce that name. His decision on Friday sets the stage for a rapid review of the contentious rule, which has faced strong opposition from gun rights advocates in several states. This rule, slated to be enforced May 20th, 2024, would significantly expand the scope of background checks, requiring them even in private transactions that have traditionally been exempt. This includes sales by individuals not classified as being, quote, engaged in the business of firearms. According to a report by Breitbart News, this change blurs the lines between private sellers and licensed dealers, potentially impacting millions of gun owners across the country who wish to buy or sell a firearm to or from a private seller. Gun Owners of California, the Gun Owners Foundation, and the state of Texas, along with other states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Utah, and advocacy groups, including Tennessee Firearms Association and the Virginia Citizens Defense League, have filed a lawsuit arguing that the rule not only exceeds the regulatory power of the ATF, but also infringes on constitutional rights. The plaintiffs claim that the rule would unfairly classify ordinary citizens who sell firearms as dealers, subjecting them to rigorous licensing and background checks. Now, what's a trip about this is, once again, private sellers. In other words, if I decided I wanted to sell a couple of my firearms so that I could afford to buy another one, I'm not rich, right? If I see a firearm that I want to buy and it's a couple of grand, I might have to sell 2 or 3 firearms in order to be able to afford that one, right? In order to be able to get that other one that I want. Well, guess what? Now they would basically have to go through background checks in order to be able to sell it, or they could try and reclassify them as dealers. What gets me though, and I think the main argument behind this whole thing has to do with separation of powers, which means this is a much bigger discussion than just guns. It tells the executive, once again, you don't get to legislate. If you want to pass a bill, you get a sponsor in Congress to carry that bill. You get it through the committee, you get it through that first house, you get it through the second house, and then you get to sign it. But you don't get to just make stuff up. And that's exactly what the Biden administration is trying to do. And every time they do it, it's always all about subverting our rights. It's always about taking away our fundamental rights. That's what they seek to do every single time they make these rules. And they know that they can't get the rules through because what's funny is they couldn't get it through when they controlled both houses. And now that they don't control one of the houses, they don't even want to sit down and try and negotiate anything. Right? And by the way, yes, there are some Republicans there in the House that would sell us out in a heartbeat. I'm not saying all of them would. I'm not even saying most of them would. But there are definitely some anti-gun Republicans in the House. There are. And in the Senate too. Let's just be real. There are anti-gun Republicans in the Senate. And when I say anti-gun, part of it's because they are more interested, like I said, the battle between the law and order Republicans and the liberty-minded Republicans. And the law and order-minded Republicans are more like apt to say, well, if the sheriff tells me that they need it in order to keep us safe, well, then we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. No, because some of those sheriffs, some of those police chiefs, yeah, they represent areas that are, how shall we say, not liberty-minded, that don't care about your rights. They'll take away they will trample on your rights if it helps, if they can even argue that it allows them to be able to do their jobs better. And they'll do it in a heartbeat. And they won't care about your rights. Your rights are secondary to them. Even though they took an oath of office saying that they were going to uphold the Constitution of the United States, a lot of them won't. And I'm not talking about rank and file law enforcement officers. I'm talking about, in particular, I'm talking about police departments. I'm talking about some of these police and sheriff unions, sheriff deputy unions, and the chiefs of some of your more liberal anti-gun communities and sheriffs of those same communities. All right, folks. Well, hey, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholster.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Speaking of the Second Amendment, Chicago celebrated Mother's Day weekend with 5 people getting murdered. And excuse me. This is a video that shows you what it's like trying to hang out in Chicago when you think it's cool. Yeah, not exactly a safe place to be there in Chi-Town. In any case, you guys also know that there is, we talked a little bit about those who are coming across our southern border, and we talked about how many of them are unemployed. Well, there's an interview that was done, Dr. Phil, He was being interviewed by the folks on The View, and he was talking about how he went to the southern border. And they asked him, how are you going to report on it? And he made it clear that, not everyone entering through our southern border is going to be unemployed.
Let's play this soundbite. My understanding is that you went to the southern border. Now, you're saying that you facts. What did you take away from that experience, and what kind of reporting are you going to be bringing back from that experience?
I'll tell you a fact I took away. I talked to the head of all the border guards down there, the head of the union. I asked him straight up, kids are coming over the border with numbers written on them, phone numbers and addresses. Mm-hmm. Do we check those out? He said, well, we call them. Is it possible that we're sending them into known prostitution rings or sweatshops? He said, it's not possible. It is absolute. We are using American tax dollars to ship children into known prostitution and sweatshops.
You notice how they jump to, all children? No. He's saying it's known that some of those kids, some of those children are going into prostitution. Some of those kids are going to work in sweatshops. We've seen the reports of them going into some employers who have kids working for them. We already know this. We've already seen this. The reports are already out there. Anyway, I know that's not funny. I did not offer that as a means of comedy or comic relief. I just wanted you to note that, not everybody's coming across the southern border is going to be unemployed. Some of them, are going to be working and in not too fun conditions. Now, also recently, new numbers have come out regarding the upcoming general election, and it's looking really, really bad there for the. What's the word I'm looking for? Looking bad for Biden. In fact, according to the Babylon Bee, which, by the way, this satire. Latest polls show Biden will need twice as many fake ballots to win this election year. Yeah, that's assuming there were fake ballots before. Yes, it's called comedy. It is called comedy, and I know some of you out there are going to be like, well, I guess no one watching this show. I guess if you were going to report it, put it this way, if you're watching us and that bothers you, you would have reported us by now. So we're still here, so evidently we do an eye. Anyway, folks, that's just about it. We're almost about done. You know what we got to do now, though. Got to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. If you're looking to do a rebuild, or you're looking to build a rebuild or build a whole new firearm, check out the barrels at hitmanindustries.net. Then you got the California Republican Assembly. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. Then we've got Hog Holsters, the best holsters in the business. Check them out at hogholsters.com. And then you've got uscombatgear.com, the place to get all of your tactical gear except the gun. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today. Once again, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. So y'all take care, have fun, and we will see you then.